You're listening to Leadership Powered by Common Sense with your host, Doug Thorpe. Here's Doug.
Well, greetings, everyone. This is Leadership Powered by Common Sense. I'm Doug Thorpe, and today we're going to take a journey into the world of, we're actually going to do a couple of things. My guest, his name is Brian Kelly. He's got some expertise in a number of different aspects about entrepreneurship and leadership in business. We're going to talk a little bit about marketing and some automation of your business and just helping with the whole entrepreneurial mindset. So, Brian, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Mr. Thorpe. I so appreciate you having me on. It's going to be fun.
Well, I'm really happy to have you here. We are going to go on a little bit of a journey, and as I like to do sometimes, let me ask you to just tell the guests, our listeners, you're the guest, tell them a little bit about your background and kind of what got you to where you are right now.
Oh my, you don't have enough time because I'm not that young. I may look it. But anyway, I grew up in a lower middle income class family. Didn't know that our family was strapped for money until I got older and was more astute to what was going on, and had a phenomenal childhood. Played sports. I didn't know any different until one day when I asked, there was a movie coming out, and I was in junior high, and it was the rage. There was no social media. It was all word of mouth, and someone saw it in the paper, that kind of thing, old school. But it was going across campus, and everybody who was somebody was going to watch this movie. So I went home and asked my dad. I said, "Hey, can I get a ticket?" And he looked down at me and he said, "Sorry, son, but we can't afford it." And that was like the defining moment where I realized, holy moly, we don't have money. This family, movie ticket? Back then it was just a few bucks.
Yeah.
And I just, at that moment, it wasn't that second that everything came into my mind, but that started the wheels moving. And I said, my parents loved us. They did everything they could for us. Nothing against them whatsoever. But I decided that'll never be my situation when I'm the dad. I'm going to make sure that never happens. And that I have this inner drive from the beginning I was born with, but that just put it in overdrive. And that one movie, in case anybody's wondering, was Star Wars, the first one.
Yeah.
And the thing was, man, I went back to junior high. I went back to school after the movie aired, and everyone's seen it. And everyone's speaking some weird language. There's R2D2, C3PO, Chewbacca. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Just made it worse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that just drove me to excel in life, not just for myself, but for my family. And now for everyone that I come in contact with, just to serve people. I just love helping.
Yeah. Well, you have had your hand in a number of different businesses and activities. So what has, beyond that foundational, sort of value structure epiphany, what else has kind of shaped your views of running effective businesses and productive and successful businesses?
Wow, great question. A lot of different things come to mind. Mindset is the first one. Learning and being certified in neurolinguistic programming. The certification part isn't all that important. It's just understanding how to reprogram your brain, and it's scientific and it works. I've spoken from stage. I was the lead trainer of a seminar company that specialized in neurolinguistic programming. I saw it affect a lot of people, including yours truly. That was the cornerstone, the foundation. Really, it was the mindset and realizing, holy smokes, I had no idea that my thoughts were affecting my outcome. And I'm not going to get woo-woo here, but I'm discovering more and more as I got even older that it's more and more true. It's pretty neat. And then I went through a journey of different businesses. I was a certified personal trainer. I did online workouts, which were ahead of their time, live streaming. It was before COVID. And so it never took off because everyone wanted to go to the gym, which I get that. I'm the same way. I would rather go to the gym if I could. And then COVID hit, and I had folded that business already and could have crushed it. But you know what? That wasn't my true passion. I didn't know it at the time. And I had individuals, close friends, including my wife, within a 1 to 2 month span, all tell me something similar. They said, when you get into anything new, you just start automating it. And I see and feel that's when you are the happiest. And I kept going, man, they're right. And so I literally, within a day, I shut down my fitness business. I deleted the website, all the videos that I had recorded for all the workouts, everything
Oh
was gone.
my.
And I did it with zero regret. I was happy. I felt free. And I began working on the new venture, which is now all automation based. It's live video show production for clients.
Well, if we may, let's come back to the automation piece. I want to go back to your reference to neurolinguistic programming. That happens to be a topic I have not yet explored on the show here. I know for a fact some of my clients are aware of it because we talk about it a little bit. I myself am not certified in it by any means, but I've read some of the studies and some of the principles. But can you give us the quick flyover of what it means and what it's about?
Yeah, it's basically in a nutshell, it's the science of success. And what it enables us to do is reprogram our subconscious mind. We've been programmed over our lives, all of us, yours truly included, especially when we're young in the imprint stage from 0 to 7 years old. And we often heard this word no, and you can't do that, and all the other things that limit us from achieving our full success as an adult. And neurolinguistic programming gives you a scientific, proven method, takes very little time to do it, to reprogram your brain for what would serve you better, because your unconscious mind, you can't directly tap into it. Like, you can't tell yourself right now, or maybe if you're really, really good, you could. But Doug, could you just say, okay, heart, beat, 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 and it would actually listen to you? No, that's your subconscious mind that is taking care of you. And it's 80%, 90% of our brain. It's a massive, wonderful, beautiful machine that we can now tap into and reprogram for a better outcome for ourselves. Limiting beliefs like I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm a woman in a man's world. All these limiting beliefs that many of us talk ourselves into to give ourselves basically an excuse not to go forward, that we can reprogram, rewire in our brain so that thought pattern does not stop us anymore. And we just keep forging forward. And there's a lot to it. But in a nutshell, it's a way of helping yourself to think and act in ways that you were meant to think and act in, not the ways you were programmed from an early age.
Yeah. I tell people, and I've said this many times on this show, once upon a time I was a banker, and specifically a real estate banker. But now that I do what I do with leadership development and helping small business owners, I use the analogy. I say there's one piece of real estate you're going to own as a business, and it's the 6 inches between your ears. And if you can manage that property well, you're going to be successful at what you do with your business. And it's so critical that mindset be positioned right. And I'm glad you brought up limiting beliefs. That's usually the starting point where most of us coaches try to help our people. We ask them to tell me some of the things you've heard or that is on that tape that plays in your head. What can you do or can't you do with your business? And let's get rid of some of that.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about NLP is there is no need to go into the past and ask what is going on. We just go straight in and let the subconscious do the work. The science is unbelievably awesome. You don't have to lay on a couch for, days, weeks, or months telling your whole past story and reliving the negativity. There's no need for it. You can just reprogram your brain, and you can do it. One process that I've done from stage, for a group of people in front of me many times. One process, for example, takes a grand total of 7 minutes. That's it. And you're not on a couch, and they're sitting in their seats, and I watch and see them change before my eyes. Some are crying, some have big smiles on their face, and you just scan the audience, and it feels so good to have a positive impact on people's lives like that.
That's awesome. Well, we'll kind of park that and probably put a link somewhere in your material for any other information on that. But let's turn the page to the automation specialty things. So give us a little more detail on what that usually involves and what it is you're trying to do in that realm.
Yeah, and this is a touchy subject for some. Some think automation is going to replace human employment, and that is not where I'm coming from. Mine is all from efficiency, and primarily what I use automation for are communication on the back end, not for marketing, not for sales, but for, like, I have a live video show. I send out notifications based on when the show is scheduled to come up that gets them ready in an automated fashion. Automated mean it emails them, gives them a link, they click a link that goes to a web page with a video where I explain the same thing I would explain every time in person anyway. So I'm basically replacing myself in a big part of that. And also, I'm replacing the fact that I don't need to have my VAs also spending their time on this stuff. It doesn't limit what they get to do or that they work for me. It actually expands because now they can do what they're more adept at doing, being creative, not just robotic, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat machinery. And so automation is key because so many things, it exudes quality once you've got it dialed in and it's running. It never makes mistakes. Humans make mistakes. I make mistakes. If I'm typing an email in, I might type in a comma or a semicolon instead of a letter, things like that. And every little bit, every tiny psychological tidbit matters to the end user and reader. I'm always looking at it like, oh, wow, they didn't even spell check this thing. That doesn't bode too well. But with automation, you can really enhance and increase the quality and the perception of the individual on the other end. If done properly, they're looking at it, my God, I get this all the time, Doug. It's unbelievable. You are so organized. And I always laugh. I mean, if you saw my desk right now, you would know why I'm saying that. And that's the beautiful thing. When you're looked at and perceived, when your brand, when yourself, when your business is looked at and perceived as professional, high quality, well, now no matter, and do that in all cases, every place you can, then when it's time for that chat to say, well, I have a pain, or I solve a pain point of yours, and if they are considering going with you as as a service, their hesitation and resistance is greatly diminished because of all of their interactions, seeing how professional and high quality you are. So they see that and they say, well, once he's taking care of me, I can kind of be rest assured he will take care of me very well, he or she.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up. It just happens over the course of the last couple of days, business days, between both my clients and some other guests I've had on my show here. We've talked about this idea. We didn't really call it automation, but what we talked about was the idea, if you're a business owner, as soon as you can identify some task that you're repeating frequently, you need to think about ways to automate it. And I'll use your word in that regard, but you could potentially delegate it to somebody, get a VA or get someone that might be on your staff to take it over. And the key thing to realize is, I'll say it again, if you're repeating that step time and time again, stop it. Figure out another way to get it accomplished.
I also have a lot of automation internal to my company where when something occurs, an event occurs, someone fills out a form on my live show page wanting to be a guest or whatever, a notification is automatically, a task is created in a tool called ClickUp. That's where my VAs hang out, and they automatically see it. I don't have to lift a finger. I don't have to go and type it in and create a task with a title and description. It's already pre-written, ready to go with a link that goes to a video recording training them on exactly how to accomplish that task if they've never done it before. So the processes are built in. So it's a great way to automate your SOPs, even your standard operating procedures. And so that there's never something missed, or if there is, there better be a darn good excuse for it, because when they have everything they need in front of them, there's, it's like, okay, you need to watch that video again, maybe take notes this time. I'm usually really, really cool with my VAs. They're awesome. And I'm always a positive reinforcer. But at least with that, you can be rest assured as a business owner that everything is covered that you can conceivably think of. There'll be outliers here and there, but far fewer, and far less of your own personal time is required when you have a good automated system in place and running.
Well, part of that automation involves capturing some videos, and you kind of whispered that in the middle of your statement there. So, but I'd like to kind of drill down on that a little more. You and I both share some common things in that we have a larger number of decades on our chart than most that might be listening. And, once upon a time, if you wanted to document a procedure, you're talking about creating a giant paper-based manual,
Yes.
3-inch, 6-inch, 9-inch binder, and you got all this junk in it. And we all knew, even back then, nobody referred to it. And heaven forbid you needed to update it and change a procedure or do something. But now with the technology we've got, it's so easy to capture a quick, simple video that'll even screen capture and show step by step what you're doing. So, that is a great way to replace that idea. And I run into a lot of business owners when we start talking about standardizing and delegating and automating, they just kind of pucker up and go, ugh, because they somehow start thinking about manuals.
Oh.
And I'm quick to say, forget that idea. You can build videos to do all that.
Yeah, I actually do a combination at times where I'll have a Google Doc that's accessible like that. You don't have to, disseminate it. If it's ever updated, it's updated for everybody. And inside of the steps, I do minimal typing, but inside of the steps that kind of describe it, I'll put the links to the pertinent videos within the doc.
Right.
And we'll go and then play the video. It's interesting because I used to shoot video. I mean, I've been doing this for years now. I got tired of when I would go to a support department of one of the online services, and I'm like, well, I would click the home button, then the nav button, then I would click on this button. Then you're trying to describe what you're doing without a visual aid. And it always took forever to get down to what truly the problem was. So I was recording video a long time ago with Camtasia, and then I would upload it to wherever I had to upload it, YouTube, whatever it needed, and give them the link. And I just did that over and over and over. And I'm not saying I'm the one that started all this by any means, but I'm seeing now more and more companies by default are saying drop a Loom video into the chat so we can get a better idea. It's like very smart, thank goodness. And then even then, it's so funny, Doug, how many support reps, they don't even watch the whole thing. I was like, you asked for it, I gave it to you, you didn't even watch it, and you're telling me the issue is completely different than what I just told you it was. It's so funny, but you go through those things. It depends on the person you get, but it is a time saver where you can just click record, speak into the mic. This is what the problem is. They see it, they can go back and reproduce it, and you can get to the solution much faster.
Yeah. Well, even inside a company, when you're thinking about training up a staff to do it, like whether it's an operations department or a sales or accounting or whatever, if you're the owner and you want to create these steps that you want people to follow, if you do that kind of video logging, build that archive, and like you said, even something as simple as a Google Doc with the links, that way, if you've done a reasonable job of hiring a reasonably well-motivated employee, they're going to be willing to go check that out if they get stumped on what their task is. I mean, I know there's exceptions to that. I'm not naive about that. But in general, somebody that's trying to prove themselves, they don't want to go ask the boss 6 times, how do you do this?
Right.
If you show them where that video is and that little short document with a little bit of narrative about it, they're going to rely on that to get it right.
Yeah, and anytime you need something done, I would recommend just always including a link to whatever your training material is every single time. There is never an excuse to not know how to do it. It's just, and they know that, and I never have issues ever. It's phenomenal. Yeah, I love that. Here's another tip. I would do very short. So I would build something once. I'd figure it out if I hadn't done it before. I'd send them the video. Then I'd let them do it iteratively several times, actually execute the task. And I would tell them ahead of time, I'm going to be coming back to you to refine, to shoot your own video, because you have figured out the best way to do it, because you've done it multiple times. I did it once. And so what I want is for you to then record the video, and that becomes part of our library. And then I will never have to record another video for that person ever again. They're the ones going in and figuring it out after you get a maturity level between the two of you going and a rhythm. So I have my systems, which are my VAs, building my systems, the automation and the video recording.
So I like that idea, and let me play devil's advocate on it, and perhaps this goes back to the neuro-linguistic programming. So I can't tell you how many times I've had a discussion like that with a business owner, and they push back and say, Yeah, but my way's the way we need to do it, and they don't have the trust of letting an employee possibly produce a better way to do it.
Yeah.
So, you could call that one of those limiting beliefs because if you're the owner, you might just be incredibly surprised at how good your team is.
Oh my gosh, that was a huge lesson I learned. That's all about ego. I have one. Everyone has one. It's about reducing that as greatly as possible. And what I learned, I used to have apprentices. They were only with me by design for 90 days, and then they were gone forever. And so I literally had them record these videos for me, for my team, for my company. So when their tenure was over and another one was coming in, because I always had 3 on hand all the time. I did this for like 3 years. And then when the next one came in, they were viewing the previous apprentice's video because they know how to do it better than anybody. They're the ones doing it. And I knew that here's the thing. I don't know how many, a lot of videos in our Google Drive bin from them. I have reviewed only one of them, and it was the first one. And I realized after that, the only time I ever would need to review them is if during the meeting, one of them said, I didn't understand how to follow that thing. And it never happened, not once. So I didn't have to spend any time developing or refining. It worked. I saw the results. All you should care about as a business owner are the results. Are they what you're looking for? Are they good enough? If you're having anything develop a website, let somebody else do it. I love getting their viewpoint on it. I tell my VAs now, I say, I want you to do it with your lens, not mine. I want to get out of my business. You're more of a customer. You represent the customer more than I do. You know better than I do what you would want. That's what I want this thing to look and sound like. That is, that's going to be something that a prospective client would be more in tune with than what I, as the owner who is too deep into it, would put out there. I always just barf on them with too much detail, and I get it from a client and they're like, oh, these are the things I like. They give me 5 bullet points, like, wow, that was simple.
Yeah that's awesome. I'll tell you what, Brian, I feel like time's just flying here, but I need to insert a quick commercial break in this show, and when we come back, we're going to dive a little more into some of your ideas on marketing for businesses and branding that we talked about offline. But hang with us, folks. We're going to be right back after this quick message.
Business is all about solving complex problems as fast as you can create them. Become the best problem solver by leading others to greatness too. And the first step is going to DougThorpe.com. Doug Thorpe is known globally for coaching entrepreneurs and business leaders, improving their performance and the work output of everyone surrounding them. You can find health, wealth, and happiness by learning to lead others to health, wealth, and happiness. Go to DougThorpe.com now and order Doug's books or hire him to coach your managers. That's DougThorpe.com.
All right, everyone, we're back. This is Leadership Powered by Common Sense. I'm Doug Thorpe, and my guest today is Brian Kelly. One of the things that we're going to get into, we're going to shift gears a little bit from the first half where we were talking about business automation and productivity and freeing up owners' time to do more productive things. But Brian also has a background and some information and proven practice that he's developed for expanding your brand and getting you out into the market. And I think a lot of it, I'm going to probably potentially put some words in Brian's mouth. He can clean them up in a second here. But I think we all, if you own a business, you're concerned about the modern media landscape, with all of the social media and technology and everything that's out there. Every owner I know scratches their head and says, what's the best thing for me to do? So Brian, give us your take on what has emerged in your world and things you've found very successful.
And I love that you said, what is the one best thing for me to do? And that's the issue. It's like, there is no one best thing. It's just going out there, finding one that is a good thing and focusing on it and taking it through to completion. And then you can look at another best thing or good thing. But for me, what I've learned that has worked phenomenally well as far as getting great exposure, name recognition, less resistance, as I was saying before, to doing business with you, is by conducting and hosting a live video interview style show. So always with a guest, just like we're doing right now, you and I, Doug. And because I was going to do a talking head and just have myself, and like, we all have enough to talk about. I'm, we all do. But I looked at it and go, who's going to want to listen to me by myself for even more than one episode? I mean, come on, I don't want to do that. So it's always more engaging, more interesting. And also there's so many side benefits to this for the hosts of the show. You get to meet an amazing array of other individuals in your target market. You will establish lifelong friendships because of the form I use. It's called carpet bomb marketing. And by the time we're done, that guest has gotten so much exposure for no payment of any kind. They are very in deep gratitude about it. And I'm not doing it to get thanks back. I'm doing it to help promote them for sure. And the focus is always on the guest, on getting them the exposure, on making sure that the show is the highest quality possible for them. I'm not thinking about myself, always focusing on them. And then what ends up happening is, because of what we do, we send this out. We go live on 11 platforms simultaneously. So it's already there and recorded when it's done for consumption. We then repurpose it to 30 podcasting platforms through audio only. We're on Roku and Amazon Fire TV, the resulting video. We edit very tiny amounts, just the beginning and the very end, and the rest is in the middle, because everyone who listens knows it was recorded live, and we want to keep that liveness in it. It's a different level of, I don't want to get woo-woo, but energy to it, and engagement. And that way, when, like I said earlier, when someone goes to search for you, if you have a solution to a pain point of theirs, they're going to go hunt you down and look at you and find, do the research. They will not be able to not find you, because you'll be on a plethora of social media platforms. And like I said, Roku on-demand TV, Roku and Amazon Fire TV, and podcast platforms. And we're adding more as they come in. And then when the show is over, we actually cut up the 1 hour. It's a 1 hour show. We cut it up into 20 video shorts, and we post all of those to up to 5 social media platforms. So that's another 100 posts as a minimum. And we do that to our social media platforms and make it available to our guests to do the same for their own platform. And so we're just about getting massive exposure, not just for ourselves, primarily for the guests. And then what comes back in rewards are tenfold.
Yeah. There is so much to be said for that. And I want to kind of spotlight a piece of what you said there. And I want to share, in my own world. I mean, I'm one of those guys. I'm a coach. I'm a business advisor, but I hire my own advisors to help me too. I do not feel I'm above all that. And I have had a number, not a huge number, but I have had people that I've solicited help from who have told me, in respect of this very show, that I need to be doing more episodes where it's just me giving my pearls. And I'm like, no. I push back on that, and because my philosophy aligns with exactly what you said. I think we can create a platform for guests like yourself to come on, and we have a discussion about these issues. We get more enlightened thought. We might even get some contrarian ideas every now and then that we can have fun debating. And not arguing, but just debating, and like you said, open up a whole new network. And I can't tell you, by the time this show goes to air, I will have done probably 120, 125 shows in this current format. And every one of those, that's 100, 125 guests that I've gotten to know. And I've already done some collaborative projects with those people, and it just, it keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's a great way to expand your knowledge base, your network, your inner circle. And, a lot of people ask, well, how do you make money with this? And I said, that's the problem. Don't think about it for making money. The problem is, or the solution is to think about it as building a relationship. I call it business owners building relationships is the whole purpose of it. And when I'm talking to an individual, I strategically allow or pick people to come onto my show that potentially we would have something in common to maybe collaborate on. That was a perfect word you used. And I don't, when they come on and we do debriefs and we talk, I don't look at them as a client, as a prospective client. I just look at them as a new relationship, professional relationship, and we just chat. I myself have become a client of many of my own guests that come on the show.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street, and collaborate is the perfect word for it. And yes, others have also become clients of mine. And I don't look at it as a transactional thing when I do the show itself. It is purely to provide value to all who watch and listen, and to provide massive exposure for the guests, because I only bring on successful entrepreneurs like you, and they then exude value and they give everything they've got. And my audience now has all the keys they need to become successful. They just need to model the people that come on the show.
I use an old word but it still resonates for me, and that is, you're here to serve a greater good. And if that doesn't drive anything to your bottom line immediately, so what? That's great. That's fine. It will come back in the long-term scheme of things, and it is about playing a long game for what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make this month's income numbers. I'm trying to build relationships, meet people that have great solutions. And, like right now, what you and I are talking about, just to make it literal, I may not have an immediate need to engage you to do for me what you're describing, but I may meet a client tomorrow in my business that is really struggling with these things. And I'm going to say, you know what, we're going to fast track this. I'm going to hook you up with Brian. I want you guys to get together, figure this out. I'll still fly over and do what I do as your business advisor, but Brian's going to help you fix some of this other stuff.
I love that. I mean, it's like, were we separated at birth or something? What's going on here? I mean,
brothers of another mother.
I mean, I'm telling you, just look at the likeness by itself right off the bat. You can tell we're twins. But thank you. God bless you for saying that. It's about playing the long game. And I always say, versus going for the quick kill, which a lot of people will do in the beginning of their business or entrepreneurial walk, because they're in that place of scarcity. They got to make the money. And I get that. I've been there. We've all been there, I think, at some point. That's huge in network marketing. You see that quite a bit, that kind of mindset. I've been in it many times, many years. I used to co-own one, so I understand that. Nothing wrong with network marketing whatsoever. It's just about getting as fast as you can, getting to a different place to where you are playing the long game, building the relationships. Not every conversation needs to react or result in a transaction of money. It doesn't. In fact, the more you give, I know it takes longer, but the more you will get. And you already said that astutely. And then the fact that, when you're doing it this way, just as you astutely said, what will happen is if you're not their perfect person, I don't have the solution for you. You don't have a problem that I solve. But when you run into somebody who does, that will be an instant, oh, you know what? I'm going to connect you with this person because they were so wonderful with me, and I know they will be with you, so I don't have any problem representing them. Here they are, and here's the contact information. There's so many good things that come from this, and the long-term play is the way to go. That is the key.
Yeah. And just that idea of being able, and guys like you and me, to be happy being able to be connectors. And meet people and say, oh, I'm listening to your problem. Well, I can't do that, but I know somebody that can. And yes, there's a function of this thing, know, like, and trust. Well, how do you get to know somebody? Well, you have a dialogue with them. So go back to this idea of filming the live videos. We're having a chat, folks, if you're listening and hadn't figured it out, Brian and I are still kind of getting to know each other in more detail, and now we've already established we're brothers, but that's another thing. But it is an idea of digging in, and probably when this is over, I'll think of some more questions, and we'll probably have another chat offline, and who knows, where things can go from there.
Yeah, and I love the whole concept of connecting people. And I learned this. I'm going to give a shout out to a buddy of mine, Jason Nast, about 8, 9, 10 years ago. I can't remember, where we were involved in a mastermind together. And I was with this guy, for several days, and I got to watch him in action. And this guy, he's the epitome of connecting and helping people. And everywhere, anytime he talked to somebody, immediately he's like, oh, I know someone that can help you with that, or, oh, how can I help you? And he's always asking them what they do, what they need, never saying, oh, here's what I do, and puking all over them to say, you should do business with me. And it really set deep with me. And I thought, wow, I like it when I'm on the receiving end. So that means everyone or others would as too. And that's not the reason to do it. It's just because they like it, but it's something that helps and serves them and gets them farther down the path than if you didn't connect or help them at all.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to circle back to the point. We kind of took a tangent there. I think it was a very important and good tangent, but I want to get back to the video thing. I'm thinking of the owner who might hear this and say, I don't want to sit in front of a camera. I'm not going to do anything like that. What do you try to tell them if that's their mindset?
If they're the head of the company, it's a disservice if they don't. I'll just be point blank. And I've seen and heard a lot. Like, well, I have a face for radio. They would say, because they don't think they are that good looking, or my voice is all messed up. And I would tell them, good. And they'd give me this look like, what the heck are you talking about? I said, that's what makes you unique.
Real.
And people will connect with you because you're okay with that. I have been interviewed by and interviewed people that have debilitating physical impairments and hard to talk, and they're slurring, and sometimes some stuff would drool down. And I told the guy, I said, that makes you you, and you're an amazing guy. Thank you for doing what you do. And he keeps doing it day in and day out. So if a guy like this can do it, there's no excuse for most, 99% of the owners on the planet not to. It's about getting over those fears, that hesitation, the resistance of doing it. And just do it. Just start. And you're not going to be perfect when you first start, as I'm sure you're aware, Doug. And you look back at your old ones and you're like, holy smokes, you get better at everything, about interviewing, about your studio setup. Yours is gorgeous, Doug. You do a great job. Lighting, microphone. He's got a high-grade microphone, camera, everything. And I just tell people, do what you can with the resources you have today, and then upgrade when you are able to. And that's what I've been doing for years and years and years. I mean, I used to have these big old box lights that had the massive spiral fluorescent bulbs in them, and there were 3 each, and it was hot, man. I'm sweating because I had 3 of these big box lights, 9 of those suckers beaming at me. Now I got LEDs everywhere, and it's nice and cool. And just, a good friend of mine said one time, sales drives service. So sales can drive upgrading. And so don't worry if you don't have the best of the best. Do the best you can with what you've got.
Right.
Or even borrow from somebody. If you don't even have a computer, you only have a phone, definitely do it on a computer. But do what you can with what you got and just do it. Get started.
Well, and, to your point about the person who says, my voice is funny, or I look funny, or whatever, a guy that you and I both know because we met through the platform called Podmatch, the founder of that, Alex Sanfilippo, and shout out to Alex, great service, great product. If any of you are listening and thinking about going down the podcasting path, you need to check out Podmatch. But, and I'm not getting paid for that commercial, but that's okay. That's where we're giving, right? We're giving it forward.
We'll talk with him later.
But my point is, he did a great episode on his own show where he shared that in his early days of podcasting, there was a mentor he used that said 3 R's: raw, real, and relevant.
Yeah.
And, the raw part is that you don't have to be the 6 o'clock news. Your production doesn't have to look like that. And, if the lighting's a little wonky and the sound, well, you probably ought to try to work on the sound a little bit because that's the whole medium. But, the technology is so far advanced, USB plugins do great sound capture, and that's all you need. Yeah. And, the being real, if you make a mistake, you and on and all that. My wife and I have a running joke. She hates to hear me record an episode because I may say the and ah every now and then, and she's got a thing about that, and I love her for it. It's a challenge for me to keep it clean that way, but, there I said it again, that makes it real. you know?
Yeah, and it's authentic to you, and that's what people want. They want the authentic you, not some polished acting. Someone who has acting background that can act their way through anything, even if it's not the authentic themselves. So, yeah, the authentic person sells better than a fake one every single time. Every single time. And here's the thing: everyone wants to, and I was this way too. Everyone wants to be liked and to please everyone else. It's not going to happen. You will not be liked by every single person that ever watches or listens to you. Some will be like drawn away from you. And that's just because there's different value systems, different personality types. It's okay. Be yourself, and you will attract those that were meant to be attracted to you. Those are the ones you want to be associated with, work with, do collaborations with, not the ones that have issues, internal or external, that don't align with you. So get over it and be good with being completely authentic. Now, it doesn't mean you have to tell embarrassing stories about yourself. Let's be clear about that. But if you go as far as you're comfortable with in that, but storytelling is also a very great thing. Like I opened with, I grew up in a very, very, like, not poor, but lower middle income family. And I was like, wow, that was a big thing for me. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. Not everybody. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, and very closely related to what you're saying there is the idea, if you want to start one of these for your business, don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to copy some celebrity or some voice or some other podcaster that you've heard that you do admire. Figure out your own voice and be yourself and show up that way. And that's where I agree with you totally. You're destined to have interaction with a certain number of people, and not everybody's going to fit that, and you're not going to be a fit for them. So don't worry about it. Move on.
Yeah, and I would say, and I know what you mean by don't copy someone else. I would say, but still watch them and get tips and pointers on the other. Look at it through the lens of a podcaster or live video show host more than a listener, and find out what is it they're doing. What is their email sequence like? What does their presence online look like? What is the structure of their show like? Do they do an intro, then ads, then go to the guest, or they jumble that up? Look for the ones that have a good degree of success. You can model certain pieces of it. There's no way, you can't be a Joe Rogan and have 30 minutes of ads right when you get started. Because I'm like, the first time I listened to him, I'm like, gee, many Christmas, is this ever going to stop? But he could, because people listened to him, and he'd go 2, sometimes 4 hours. I mean, it was all over
his
the
shows
place.
are long. Yeah, definitely long.
Yeah, but it works, obviously.
Right.
So it doesn't mean you have to match and do everything he does, but take out the pieces that appeal to you. There's something in there. They figured something out. And even if you take pieces out of there, that'll probably improve your overall show results when all is said and done. And just be a student of other podcasters.
I agree with you on that. I think you do have to do that. And it's, it's a function of learning. If you're going to launch out and do this, you do need to at least learn. But the point is, you don't have to perfect how they do it. I mean,
exactly.
I'm a disciple of John Maxwell's leadership training, and I've been to a lot of his programs in Orlando. And John, of course, is an amazing public speaker. I mean, just one of the most dynamic, and he can just get you drawn in like no one else I've ever seen. And I would be just really wrong in trying to copy that. But there are elements of how he does it that I can definitely learn how to weave into my own effort to communicate that could improve things. And
yeah, I totally agree. And always be learning that, everybody hears that phrase. I would even stretch it to even speakers that you have a misalignment with. I went to a 2-day seminar. I'm not going to name any names, but the individual showed his colors. It was unbelievable. I was blown away why this person would do what they did. And I was really like sitting there like, oh man, this is not good. But I kept the mind and eyes and ears and everything open, because this person also commanded the room. I mean, like I have never seen anyone do. And so I'm taking notes as a speaker, not as a listener, as a student. And then he did one thing that I really thought was good. I went back to my mentor and said, what do you think about this? And he goes, yeah, use it. And that was literally 10 minutes before I went on stage. and I used it and it went great. So you can still pull great tidbits even out of presenters that maybe you don't have such a great alignment with, but keep the open-mindedness going. Say, well, I may not ever go to another seminar by this individual. I'll never buy their stuff, but I did find something I can pull from it and use for the betterment of myself and my people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Brian, speaking of format and substance, we're about out of time for this episode. So let me ask you, for everything we've rambled around and talked about, can you kind of put a bow on it and leave a closing thought for everybody?
I just like to say to everyone out there that's an entrepreneur, business person, you're going to struggle. There's going to be struggles every single day. It's part of it. And just never, ever, 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 ever give up. And I'd like to leave with a gift, if I may, if that's okay, Doug.
Sure.
Actually, two gifts. They cost us nothing. One is reachyourpeakclub.com. It's a free membership and it's an entrepreneur discount house. You basically go in there and you'll find great deals on not a ton of stuff. It's like Costco, but without the membership dues or the thousands of products. There's just a few services in there. And then another one is peakmasterclass.com. I do a free advanced live video masterclass about every month, and another one's coming up here soon. And that's 100% free. And I do not sell anything on the masterclass. Nothing. So no credit card required at all. It's free to attend. It's about an hour in length. And I go deep into more about live video show mastery.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for those shout outs. And folks, if you missed those on the fly, we're going to have all that info in with links in the show notes. So, please hop in over there. But Brian, thank you for doing that and coming on the show and sharing your wisdom and experience.
It's been a pleasure finding another brother.
You bet.
Thanks, Doug.
you betcha. Well, folks, on that note, we're going to wrap this thing up. I do want to remind everybody, we do have the show over on YouTube, channel by the same name, Leadership Powered by Common Sense. You can hop over there and watch this if you're right now just listening on a streaming service. But please hop in over there, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and leave us some feedback and links and such. We would love to hear from you. And I say this in every episode, I am genuinely interested in hearing from you. If you yourself want to be a guest or have a topic you would like us to talk about, drop me a line. I am all over social media. You can find me pretty easily just about anywhere, and use whatever media works for you and give me that feedback so we can address the things you're interested in. So for now, we're going to say goodbye and thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful. We'll see you again real soon.
You've been listening to Leadership Powered by Common Sense, hosted by Doug Thorpe. If you would like to know more about the coaching and advisory services he provides, visit dougthorpe.com.